Well, our mindsets affect everything in life. Our mindsets, how we think. The average brain has 25,000 thoughts, up to 50,000 thoughts a day. She's already claiming the 50. The very sad part about this statistics of this test was 70% of them are negative. You are on the 50%. You're on the 55. So keep that. So think about that. 50,000 times 365, which is the days that are in a year, is 18,250,000 thoughts, and 70% of them are negative in a year. Can you imagine what this world would be like if we made them positive thoughts? If we had 70,000 positive thoughts about ourselves, if we stopped listening to the man in the mirror, because the man in the mirror always tells you, you're getting more and more gray. You're getting more wrinkles. You are gaining weight, right? It seems like when I lose weight, he never tells me that. Right? If you think big, you will go big. If you think small, you will go small. So what is our thoughts doing to us? How do we grab them thoughts and make them positive? How do we express that if I've done my best, then that's good enough for all of us, right? If somebody does their best, that's good enough for right now, because their best will get better, right? We can't allow the negativity to grow. We won't allow the negativity to grow if we're constantly realizing that if that's their best and we're willing to get better, then they're going to be better the next time, over and over. Amen? We serve a big God. He has big thoughts for us. Why do we take those thoughts and make them small? Why don't we think big and outside of the box? I want to tell you a couple stories. One of them's about me, and one of them's about an elephant. We all know how majestic elephants are and how powerful they are, correct? But a mindset shows you is a perfect opportunity for a mindset here. One day there was a man walking along by where the zoo was at. And the zoo had these big, majestic elephants that were standing out in the open edge at the edge of the parking lot. And he noticed around the bottom of the foot of one of the elephants was this tiny little rope about the size of my pinky, tied around this elephant's leg. And he was like, oh my goodness, that elephant's going to destroy everything around, because he's so big and powerful, correct? But he realized there was several elephants there with a tiny little rope around his leg. So he spotted the zookeeper and walked up to him and asked him, why does that elephant stand there with that little tiny rope around his leg? He said, well, listen, he goes, these elephants are trained. Elephants are trained from birth. The ones that are going to be brought to shows, they're trained at birth. They're tied up with these ropes around their leg the same way at birth, and they're not able to break those strings, those little ropes. We use the same rope as they get older, and their mind tells them, I never could break them before, I'm not even going to try. So a mindset will defeat us every time. Amen? Right? Now I'm going to tell you a story that affected me. I was about 11 years old, and we were staying at a lake in Mississippi, and there was a tall pole, and I noticed all of these people gathered around the base of this pole. And there was just people talking and somebody speaking over a microphone. And I was like, I was wondering what was going on. So my father was there. And I went to my dad and I said, Dad, what is going on over there? And he said, well, son, he says, there's a guy up there that's see that pole? I said, yeah. I said, they greased that pole yesterday. And I was like, why would anybody waste time doing that? Right? And at the top of the pole was a flag and a little bell that you ding, right? And he says, they got some kind of giveaway here to anybody that can climb that pole. I went, really? I could do that. And my dad went, right? My older brother was like, there's no way. I can't even do that. And I was like, no doubt in my mind I couldn't do it. I'm willing to go. I said, Dad, I can do that. And he said, well, go ahead. Kind of booted me on. Go ahead, son. And I was thrilled that my father sent me on the way. And I barreled my way through all these guys and men and young men that were on trying to get next in line. And I went up to the guy that had the microphone. I don't know why. I was just so bold and I was so blind. I was out of order, but I was so blind. I was a young boy, right? And I tugged on his arm as he was talking. I tugged on his arm. And he says, what can I do for you? And I said, I could do it. And he goes, okay, young man, right after him, I'm going to give you a shot because I was young. I got precedence, right? It's really funny because I had no doubt I could do it. This guy got up the pole and I'm watching him. And even though he never made it, it never affected me because of my mindset. And he comes sliding down the pole and the guy grabs me, watch out, youngin'. And the guy hits the ground. He says, okay, it's your turn. And before he even gave me a countdown, I started on the pole. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait till I'm 3/4 of the way because I could see my dad. I wanted to see my papa. I wanted to see this face. I wanted to see how proud he was of me. I climbed that pole. When I hit 3/4, I wasn't even thinking of my dad at that point. When I rang the bell, I thought of my dad. And I stayed there. And they were saying, okay, come down. And I was like, no, not till I see my dad. Right? So I stayed. I actually grabbed the top of the pole and I pulled myself up and I rested my arm on it trying to find my dad. And I spotted my dad and he was like unbelievable. I was the first on the pole that made it to the top. And I was one of three that made it. And everybody was older than I. And my older brother didn't even attempt because he defeated himself before he got there. Amen. I'm not telling you because I'm good at climbing grease poles, but I might be pretty good at climbing grease poles. I climbed trees for many years. So just think about that. Are we defeated before ourselves sometimes? How often do we walk into life and catch ourselves and trip and fall down because we already knew we weren't going to run the race? So many catchers in baseball have to overcome this. They don't know if they can make it to the ball and they give up before they get there. They give up before they can make the catch. The ones that don't give up, let me tell you what they look like. They look like pro athletes. And as they're catching the ball, they're laying sideways in the air, catching the ball because they never let their minds defeat them. The guys that are just running and like, oh, got away from me. Ones that don't give up and turn their thinking around are the ones that are giving it that last little leap. There's no doubt I can catch this. Amen.